I want to now bring in criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter, host of Courtroom Confidential podcast, for more on this one. Josh, always appreciate you being on with me. How soon do you expect we get a verdict from this jury? This is a huge case.
It is a huge case, and it's a complex case, so I don't think that we should be waiting around for a verdict anytime soon. You know, it's been a couple weeks worth of testimony. It was pretty dense stuff, so I think the jurors are going to take their time. But really, it essentially comes down to one question, as was outlined by your reporter there, on whether or not they believe these confessions. He made dozens of confessions, according to the prosecution, while in custody. And the defense has put on, I would say, a very strong case to argue that he was suffering from some sort of mental breakdown while in custody. They presented evidence of videotape of his conditions while he was in custody. He was absolutely in some sort of mental crisis while he was in custody, according to some of the testimony that we've heard about. And it's just going to come down to a question of, do jurors believe that he was not only just being honest, but in his right mind when he made those confessions?
Yeah. Do you know anything about the makeup of this jury and how that might impact their, play into their sympathies and ultimately the outcome?
We don't. The problem is that the ability for the journalists and media to cover this has been incredibly restricted. The judge not only didn't allow cameras inside the courtroom, but reporters inside the courtroom, if they're able to win a seat that day, are taking notes by hand. So we're getting a lot of information just from people who are diligently trying to jot down everything that they hear in court. As far as the juror breakdown, we do know that some of them have been responding very emotionally to some of this evidence that was presented in court. Certainly when it came to photographs of the conditions in which the girls were found, but also when it came to videotape of the condition in which Richard Allen was in while his time in custody.
Yeah, that's what Ryan Bass was just saying, and some of them visibly shaken after seeing that video. The other thing, as I was just kind of getting up to speed on this case, Josh, was that prosecution rested its case after only 12 days. The defense rested its case after 17. Does that extra 5 days, give the defense any sort of edge?
Well, this wasn't a sit on their hands defense. It certainly wasn't a reasonable doubt defense where they just say, listen, the prosecution hasn't given you enough evidence. They put on their own experts. They put on an affirmative defense. They were trying to say that, listen, it's not just that they don't have evidence that our client is guilty. In fact, our client is innocent, and we will tell you why. Now, the enormous obstacle they had to deal with there was not in small part these confessions. Well, they addressed that up front through expert testimony, through that videotape testimony of his conditions in custody. I will say, when I first heard that this was going to be their defense, I was skeptical. But now, after hearing reports of what they've actually put on in court, I think they've mounted a very robust defense.
Well, just a chilling case from start to finish. I've been thinking about the families and all of Delphi throughout this. We'll follow it closely, and I'm sure I'll join you again for an update once we have it. Josh Ritter, as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.